Hi everyone, welcome to G's Music Theory. I'm Gina Saylor, and if you want to know more about me, you can go to my website, ginasaylor.com. I made this music theory teaching series for any skill level so that you could learn if you're a singer or play an instrument or want to write music, learn how music theory works. It's really simple. If you can add or subtract to the number 9, if you can multiply and divide with the number 2, and if you know the alphabet letters from A through G, you're set. That's all you need. For this class, it will help if you have paper and pencil or a pen, so you can take my little quizzes in between or take notes. And you would really need a keyboard. It doesn't have to be a real keyboard. It can be a printout of a keyboard. And I'd like you to have 2 octaves or more in front of you. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry. That just means count 10 black keys on your piano keyboard, the printout that you have. You should have at least 10 black notes. You could have more than that, but you want to make sure that the keys are big enough so you can kind of see all the notes in between. You'll see the sample that I use. It's a little bit more than 2 octaves, but you'll be able to see that. It's like 3.5. And you'll be able to follow along the lessons easier that way. And if you want to subscribe, it's free to subscribe, and you can send it to your friends, anybody you know who's interested in music. You can sign up for alerts so that when I put my next one out, which I don't know when that'll be, hopefully soon, you'll know that it's ready for you. So let's get started. We'll familiarize ourselves with the keyboard. You can see that there are groups of black notes, either a group of 2 or a group of 3, and then it goes and repeats another group of 2 and another group of 3, and it goes like that forever until you run out of the 88 notes. The very tippy top and the very bottom don't have a 2 or 3 because the notes are cut off, the sequence is cut off, but that's how they're arranged, and it never changes. And as long as you can see those, you'll know where you are on the keyboard, and you'll know what these white ones are in between by seeing where they are in relation to where the black ones are. In music, up and down refers to pitch, and on the keyboard, it refers to which direction you're moving. So when I tell you to go up, I'm asking you to go right on the keyboard, which is going to be a higher pitch. So think of the little bird. When I tell you to go down on a keyboard, that's referring to your left, which is going to be a lower pitch. So think of the sound a gorilla would make. The first thing we're going to learn to do is find the half step. That's like the basic element of everything we're going to learn. A half step is the smallest interval or space between notes on a keyboard. So that's the smallest amount of space between 2 notes on a piano keyboard. Think of a half step as a next door neighbor. That's the easiest way to think of it. And your neighbors are always black, white, black, white, black, white. They alternate between black and white. And the only exception is unless there's no black note between the white notes, in which case the next door neighbor is white, white, okay? And 2 half steps equal a whole step, just like anything else. So it's very easy if I ask you to find a whole step in a specific direction, just find a half step and then another half step. And there you go, and you have a whole step. What does all that mean? So if we start here with the blue arrow, if you are here on this note and I tell you, go up a half step, you know that up means to the right, and you know that a half step means the next door neighbor, which is the black one, because it's going to alternate white and black. So from here, up a half step would take you here. Now, if you started here on the black note and I told you to go down a half step, you would go to the left, down to the white neighbor. So you would be right here, okay? So if you started here, I say go up a half step. That's where you should end up. If you start here, I say go down a half step. That's where you should end up. The exception, of course, is when you have 2 white notes with no black note between them. So if you started here, I say go up a half step, you're going to end up right there. And vice versa. If you're here and I say go down a half step, you're going to end up right there because there is no black note in between them. So how do we find C? The alphabet, you start with the letter A. In music, when you are first learning, they like to start you with the note C. It's the basic building block of a white note scale. So to find C, you just look for the group of 2 black notes. There's the group of 3, right? So you look for the group of 2 black notes. And from there, you take the one that's the lowest, and then you drop down a half step. So here's the lowest of the 2 black notes, because it's on the left. And then you drop down a half step. So you go to the left down here, and that is C. So you see here, this would be C. So find all the C's on this keyboard, on my keyboard or your keyboard. And you'll see I've marked them here. There's a C because there's the 2 black notes. There's the C, 2 black notes. Okay, it's not the one between the 2 black notes, and it's not the one on the right. It's the one to the left. It's below the 2 black notes. Once you found C, all the other notes fall into place. They just go in order of the alphabet, okay? Before C will be A and B, and after C will be D, E, F, G. That's it. And then it just repeats. And if you can see, once you've mapped it all out, it's always the same. Nothing changes. Here's a C where we found it. So that means D is always between the 2 black notes. Here we go. That means B is always above the 3 black notes. Like that, okay? So just practice finding all these keys. You should be able to name all the white keys on your keyboard with no problem now. Pop quiz. What's the interval or the space between E and F? Well, between C and D, between A and B, and between B and C. Now the answer is either going to be a half step or a whole step. And I want you to pause anytime you need time to fill these things out and then start the video again when you're ready to get the answers. The interval between E and F is a half step. There is no black note between them, so it's just a half step. The interval between C and D is a whole step because C half step would be up to this black note, and then another half step up from that black note is right here. So 2 halves make a whole, so this is a whole step. Same goes for A and B. Between A and B is a whole step because you have that black note in between them. This is a half, this is a half. Interval between B and C, it's one of those situations where there's no black neighbor in between, so the next door neighbor is the very direct white note next to it. So B to C is a half step. This becomes relevant now in helping you find sharp and flat. What is a sharp and flat? It's simply telling you which direction to move a half step. That's all that means. A sharp means to go up a half step, and a flat means to go down a half step. How do you remember which one's which? I always tell kids, if you step on something sharp, you're going to jump up. So that's why you know sharp means to go up. If you have a flat tire, your car is going to go down. So you know that flat means to go down, up, down a half step. And then they have symbols in music that represent what a sharp is and a flat is. The sharp symbol looks like this. The flat symbol looks like this. And now these are images that I had to copy and paste. And rather than do that all the time, I'm going to be more efficient from here on out and just use symbols that you can find on a keyboard, typical QWERTY keyboard. So this will be represented with a hashtag symbol from now on. It's a little bit different than this. And the flat symbol will be represented by lowercase b, which is not quite as pointy, but you'll get the point. Every black note, therefore, has 2 names. It has a sharp name and a flat name because it depends on which neighbor you're using to describe that black note. So here we have this black note. We know that this is C, right? Because we have 2 black notes and this is C. So this black note has the name C sharp. Why? This is C and you are going up a half step. Up is sharp. You step on something sharp, you jump up. So this is called C sharp. So when you see it, it'll be the note C, the letter C, with what looks like a hashtag next to it, or pound symbol, or number sign, whatever you want to call it. It also can be called D flat, because here's the note C, next to it is the note D, because that's the sequential letter in the alphabet, and this black note is a half step down from D, so it's D flat, because if you go down, you have a flat tire, you go down, right? So let's name all the black notes now. They have 2 names each, remember? This is C sharp or D flat. This black note is D sharp or E flat. This black note is F sharp or G flat. This one is G sharp or A flat. This one is A sharp or B flat. And now you know the name of every note on 88 keys of the piano. You know every single one's name. The white keys have only one name, except for the ones with no black neighbor in between. They have 2 names. The second name is less frequently used. We'll get to that in a second. Sharps and flats are called accidentals. This is extra info. You don't need it right away, but in case someone mentions it so you know what they're talking about. An accidental is referring to sharp or flat. You take a regular pure letter and you've added that symbol to it. White notes that only have 1 black note neighbor, as I mentioned, also have 2 names. So B can also be called a C flat because it's a half step down from C. And C can be called B sharp because it's a half step up from B. Same with E and F. And that's it. Those are the only four white notes that have two names, but these names are less frequently used. When you get more advanced, you'll use them, but in the beginning, when you're first learning music theory, you will see them very rarely. So now at the end, we have quizzes, okay? First thing to do, find at least two C's. Now, anytime you need time in a quiz, just pause because I'm going to go quickly to the answers. I have marked all the C's on my keyboard. 2 black notes, drop down. 2 black notes, drop down. Imagine there's black notes that continue here because my keyboard got cut off. Find at least 2 G's. I have 3 of them on my keyboard. If this is C, then we got D, E, F, G. Find at least 2 F sharps. So first you find your F, then you go up a half step, and there are my F sharps. See if you got them right. What's this note called? It has 2 names. G sharp or A flat. What's this note called? It's E. You could also call it F flat, but you're not going to use that very much yet. What note is a whole step up from G? Take your time on this one. You start with G. You got to find G first. Go up a half step and go up another half step. So that's a whole step up from G. The answer is A. You can see my arrows showing you how we got there. What note is a whole step down from G? Just do the reverse of what we just did, and the answer is F. And what note is a whole step up from E? This one's a little trickier. It's trickier because you go from E to F, that's a half step, and then F to F sharp, that's another half step. Now this note can be called G flat, but in this case, when I ask you for a whole step up from E, a whole is just one, right? So you just want to move one letter in the alphabet and just use the F sharp name instead of the G flat name. It's more appropriate. That's the end of lesson 1. Good job. I hope it wasn't too much. I'm trying to make these in bite-sized pieces so it's easy to take, and then you can watch it again to remind yourself, and if not, then just wait for the next lesson and move on to that one. Click the subscribe button, share it with people that you know who are interested, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.